Hello, everyone. So today, let's talk about if I had the ability to time travel. Would I go to the past? Would I go to the future? Where would I go if I had the ability to time travel? So this was a request by a friend, and I thought it was worth entertaining because it's pretty interesting to think about. Anyway, it's a thought experiment. So in general, would I travel to the past? The answer is not really. So I think that the best case scenario in some of these instances, let's assuming I have the calculations correct and I know where I'm going when I'm going. So if I have Aztec blood. So let's say I went to the ancient Aztec temples, when the Aztec Empire was thriving. Um, the best case scenario is that I get there and I appear to just come out of nowhere like magic, like I'm some kind of divine entity, and I get worshipped like some kind of god or something like that. That doesn't have a whole lot of appeal to me. But that's kind of the best case scenario. So let's take, either Native American or perhaps, ancient Viking tribe. I'm using the word ancient very loosely. But a Viking tribe, let's say even before the Viking Age, something like that. Best case scenario, I'm welcomed so just out of interest, like where did this being come from? Who is this entity? So a lot of people don't think about is you wouldn't be able to speak the language of any of these people. It'd be a long time just to figure out how you could communicate with one another. Also, you might transfer diseases that we've developed immunities to by now, but you could transfer diseases to other people in the past. So a lot of the past is just a lot of it is periods of very a lot of dullness and a lot of brief sparks of conflict, of fighting, things like that. And it wouldn't be hospitable for one's body, mind, or even spirit to go into a different level of consciousness, a different level of societal and civilization development. It wouldn't be a pleasant experience. There's not the same amenities that we have now. There's not the same cleanliness. There's not the same idea of if it's okay to attack strangers or to, if is this a god? Do I want to fight this god? They think another scenario is perhaps they do think you're some kind of divine entity and like, let's see if I can fight it. So I think that traveling almost any time in the past would be not it would be detrimental to one's being. But let's say that there are a couple times and a couple places I want to go back and visit. One of them would be the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So that battlefield and that battle is in the Mahabharata. It is supposedly the battle in which Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, and it was written down during this battle. Kind of like all this information just right at once, and Ganesh is taking it down very quickly. But he speaks the whole Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Um, I wouldn't just like to see, maybe that happening. I wouldn't be able to communicate with them, and you know, um, Krishna would look at me and kind of know what I was, and that'd be kind of scary. Do you really want to meet an avatar? Do you want to go back from the future that you belong in to the past and basically tempt the Godhead for being just to either strike you down or just tell you off, like get out of here, or even send you back to the future. Um, and also, you wouldn't really understand. Once again, you wouldn't speak the same language. But there's a lot of details of the Kurukshetra War that are very interesting, and they kind of play into my idea of time, which may sound very kooky to many people. So I believe time is cyclical, and that we've had tremendous amounts of technology in the past at various points, and our consciousness we became less developed. As souls went to higher dimensions or left this dimension, the, the whole world needed to give other souls, lower souls that are becoming human, a chance to go through the same cycles, the same degrees of consciousness. So that's why the cycle goes down and it goes back up like a circle. All these different cycles over thousands and then millions of years to give all the souls an opportunity to experience these levels of enlightenment and these material realities. I would like to see if at Mahabharata they did have flying chariots. So there's a lot of flying chariots in the Mahabharata. There's a lot of projectiles, arrows, and missiles, and they're often described as arrows or projectiles. But when the archers fire them, a lot of the time they're able to activate very specific like potentials in that missile to make them like get bigger or explode or something like that, or recall these projectiles. It sounds a lot like missile technology. Um, I would like to see if it's all hyperbole, if it's all, you can even say allegory, or if these things were literal. And a lot of people date the Mahabharata to 800 BC, but I think it goes back much further, and so do a lot of other people. At one point in the Mahabharata war, in the Battle of Kurukshetra, there's kind of like this Rakshasa or Asura that fights on either side. There's multiple that fight on both sides. It's a very vast and strange war. But there's this one, Gatotkacha. He is on the Pandava side, the good side, I guess you could say. And he multiple times he gets as big as a mountain, and then he has like all these heads, and then he shrinks back into like the size of a man, or even something smaller. And there are times when he throws all of these like tree-sized missiles right at the Kuru army, and he summons animals and insects to attack them. And he has all these really interesting powers. I would love to see if these interesting powers were a thing. I'm 50-50 on it. A lot of people think that I'm crazy for even being 50-50 on it, but I think that there are both powers that we can understand medically and technologically eventually, but these powers exist in the past, I think. I'm not sure. I'm 50-50 on it once again, just like I'm 50-50 on the technology, because there's a lot of technology in the Kurukshetra war that's very interesting. I'd like to see how much of it is hyperbole. And apparently, if I would like to see if the numbers are correct of millions of men fighting on this one battlefield, that's something we wouldn't see later until World War One, and that was just you might have 1 million men dying on a 3 square mile battlefield, which is so many. It's just a crazy amount, and that Kurukshetra would surpass World War One even. So that's one I would just want to see, not necessarily if I'm right, but I want to see how much of this is true, and if it's all true, it would be very terrifying to see. But that's one time. I would also like to go to very ancient England, Britannia, before the Romans found it, and maybe even before the Anglos settled in it. I would like to see, there's tales of another island off the coast that sunk off the coast of Britain, that there were all these very enlightened beings on it, had amazing technology, could move things with their minds, all kinds of stuff. And they were on an island separate from the rest of human beings, but they didn't want to be a part of humanity. They wanted to do their own thing. And eventually, once the cycle started going down again, they submerged the island back under the water, and they either left, dimensionally, or they died. I think that was on a dip of, one of these cycles that can last for thousands to millions of years. I would like to just see ancient England. I would like to see it. I wouldn't like to spend a whole lot of time there, probably, but I would like to see it briefly and scoot back. Just like I would scoot back right after viewing some stuff at Kurukshetra. Scoot back, get back to this time. Now, when do I mainly want to go? I don't want to go, I either want to go really far in the future, millions of years. I don't even know if I'll be able to breathe then. There's a lot of things that can happen in millions of years. And we could have destroyed ourselves. I don't think that this planet will be destroyed any time soon. I mean, I think that humanity is going to be on this planet developing and spreading out for millions of years. Maybe I'd like to travel 2 million years in the future with maybe an air supply and perhaps some armor. Don't know what's going to be happening. I would like to see how far we've evolved, what we've advanced into, what stage we're at. And the second, I think it's the most satisfying, the time that I'm going to travel to most is probably just like 70, 75 years from now. I want to see how these current political and war and government and humanity that's kind of gestating right now, I want to see how it works out. I just want to see how the things that I'm experiencing in this time, I want to see how they work out. I think we're going to be okay. It's going to be some hard times, but we're going to be okay. And I ultimately am an optimist. Despite my pen name being Dark Realist, I want to see how, not just how the Ukraine-Russia war pans out, but how just nationhood pans out in general. not just nationhood, but like all these different histories resolving themselves, because we're still suffering from the effects of segregation and slavery, and the developments of industry, capitalism, industrialization, multiple cultures meeting, multiple religions going through, some shifting and trying themselves out. More people now are becoming spiritual than I think that I've ever witnessed in all the history of study. I think people are becoming more spiritual, which is not to say religious. Religious and spiritual are different. I want to see if all my hopes and expectations in 75 years from now really pan out for people just becoming more spiritual and figuring out technology and spirituality are connected in that, and figuring out, compassion on a state level, country level, global scale. I want to see how these little things pan out that just are gestating right now that haven't panned out yet. I'd like to see how things pan out in the immediate future. But yes, so those are kind of, if I did time travel, those would be the reasons and the places and the whys. And it may seem like a strange combination. A lot of people would like to see ancient Rome at its height, and some of these great Roman battles, Greek battles. Some people would like to see if the Iliad, how true that is, and the Odyssey. There's also a lot of divine powers that the Greek gods have that enacted that would be interesting to see if there's any truth to it at all, or if it's all made up by humans. That would be very interesting to see as well. But overall, I think I'd rather just travel a little ways into the future. I think that would be safest, and it'd be the most productive for sealing those parts of my mind and worries or contemplations, so that I can focus on my soul's journey as it travels from life to life. Because we get really attached to the times that we're in and our political parties, our even spiritual and religious ideology. We get so attached to these things that it's hard to step outside of ourself. And sometimes we're involved in resolving a lot of these things, whether we know it or not. And we're at the specific time. We are the specific person that we are for a reason, I believe. And it's all part of every single soul's journey. So I'd like to put all those parts of my mind to rest that aren't necessary for moving forward spiritually, and tackle, even to a greater degree, what I should be tackling 24/7 to the benefit of my soul. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot them down in the comment section below on YouTube. I'd like to hear your thoughts, where you would like to travel, why, and if any of this makes sense to you, if you have any, if you agree with any of this. Please hit that like button down there. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me, and let's help the channel grow. Feel free to share this wherever you want. Thank you very much, and I want all of you to have a wonderful day.